self-differentiation was the key. And you may think, well, I don't really know what that is, or that's fine. If you don't know what it is, I have plenty of videos where I begin to talk about that. And I'll even talk about what self-differentiation is now and how it's missing from most of the advice out there. Because I knew that my self-esteem was bad. I did kind of know that. And I did feel bad about myself. Good codependent, religiously addicted, messed up in many ways, mentally and emotionally. And I did not know how my self-esteem should go up. How do you make it go up? What do you do to make it go up? And of course, I went on a quest to try to figure that out. Going to school for pre-law music, and then into psychology, pastoral counseling, marriage and family therapy, and on from there to learn how to heal myself is really what I was doing. I knew things weren't great in my family growing up. I wanted to be not my family. But how do I become not my family? Because that's all I knew. That's all the programming and experience that I had had. I had not grown up in anybody else's family. I'd only grown up in my family. There was a lot of simplified, superficial advice out there that was good. I would even say was good advice, but it didn't get to the core, I felt. And that underlying broken paradigm, it just didn't go deep enough. Again, the advice may not have been bad advice, but it didn't go to the heart of things. And it tended more for me to be more superficial. No one was talking about how relationships work, how relationships are systems with pushes and pulls, and also how my dysfunction was caught up in all of that and in all the relationships in my life. In beginning to discover that, I felt a greater empowerment when I began to learn about self-differentiation. Simply put, self-differentiation is being yourself, being your true self, while not taking on the toxicity or expectations of others, and just being you. And I didn't mean in a mean way, in an arrogant way, but learning to be you as a solid self, and you're not guided by other people's expectations, other people's approval, likes of you, dislikes of you, even their toxicity or anger or frustration. That's not guiding your inner core. Second of all, don't change others. Focus on changing your emotional location, which basically means change you, not them. I think I try to explain to people, and I talk more about it in other works that I have and workshops and programs that I've created for those who follow me, that when you become more emotionally detached, that's a change of your emotional location. If you have a puzzle and all of the family is in this puzzle and all the pieces fit together, if one person in the puzzle becomes more detached and more a real self, that changes their location in the puzzle. And then others in the puzzle have to shift and change around to either force you or want you to come back, reject you so there's just a hole missing, or they come to adapt to the new you. But anytime you make that mental and emotional change, a paradigm change, then you're changing emotional location. And that's very critical for how you experience the world. If I give up feelings of guilt and shame and shift my emotional location in the family, then what happens is when I give up that guilt and shame, it shifts that location in the family. I'm not in the family in the same way. If I waved a magic wand and said you're going to go to your family dinner, gathering, whatever, and you cannot feel guilt or shame, do you think that would change something? It would certainly change something for you. My hunch is it would change something for them, or at least they would be alerted that something is different here. Because often we will act and react out of our guilt and shame, which is so commonly programmed into us in dysfunctional families. And so we then shift our place in that emotional location. Another way to think about it is you have a mobile. And a mobile is all those pieces. You remember you may have built some of those when you were in junior high or whatever in art class. And you have all these pieces on there. And if you move one piece, it shifts all the others. Family operates the same way. You change one piece, all the other pieces must adjust to that somehow. And so we want to learn to change our emotional location, which is shifting your position in the mobile for you to become healthier and more self-differentiated. And I learned that that was very important. Number 3, healing takes time, and that it's not good to run after quick fixes. In other words, I have to work to learn about how I work in my family, how I work in the emotional process of my family, how they work in me, how I work in them, how they react to me, how I react to them. I must learn some of these very important dynamics. They are often simple dynamics because it's not complicated. You already know this information. You just haven't been alerted to it or known how to use it effectively to grow, to be yourself. Because if I know how things operate between the two of us, whether you do or not, I still have an advantage or a leverage at that point. And I can begin to be myself more in this dance that we do, whether you know how you operate in the system or not. I can still change me in the dance and learn new steps. So, what is a quick fix? I think, simply put, a quick fix does not take in systems dynamics or systems perspective. For example, a quick fix might be somebody telling you, oh, just go to them and talk it out. Go to your narcissistic father and just talk that out. I mean, don't we have a society where you need to talk about things? It's good to get things out in the open. It's good to clear the air. It's good. Well, yes, that's a good way of thinking and doing. However, if we know more about how narcissism works in relationships, if we know more about how your family operates, then we probably wouldn't want to take that advice in that simple, quick fix way. It probably will be a disaster. And that's why I hesitate in giving people different types of advice, because they many times tell me, well, just tell me what to do. Well, it's not just about telling you what to do, because you could go do it, but you're going to go fly a 747 and you haven't even learned how to fly a Cessna yet. And so learning systems thinking, learning how you operate in the system, which you can learn because you have all the information, you're just not used to looking at it. And once you look at it, you'll go, oh, that's simpler than I thought. And the whole world begins to open up in a different way. And so that's an example of a quick fix. Now, with regard to quick fixes, maybe going and talking it out is just fine if you don't have a highly charged emotional relationship, like, say, a narcissistic relationship or dysfunctional one. If you have a very close friend who loves you dearly and you both get along really well, you both respect each other, well, then go talk it out. You don't have to go any deeper than that. But if it's a much more highly charged situation, you've got to know more to be able to fly that 747 and not just the Cessna, if you're just going to run into it and try to do it. And I think that we don't want to go and just confront situations we don't like. Why is that? Am I telling people not to be assertive? Not to express their feelings? Not to express their beliefs? Yeah, exactly. That is what I'm saying. Don't do that. Why am I telling you not to do that in highly charged situations? Because if you understand systems, the more the relationship is charged with anxiety, the less butting of heads you should be doing. We have to wait until that anxiety goes down before we can have that kind of discussion, or it won't go well. And in fact, what we would want to learn about before we went and did all this confrontation is understand the decades of family of origin programming that we've had, understand our level of self-esteem and self-confidence, our understanding our anxious, dysregulated emotional process. When are we going to get reactive? And do you know when you're going to get reactive? Do you know how to not get reactive? And when we understand that the deep need for their acceptance and approval is still present, I still need their acceptance and approval, then don't go confront a narcissist, because you're going to get neither. It's going to become real bad. When we have this continued deep need for them to change, and we'd like to change them, we have difficulty thinking clearly when emotionality runs high within us. And if we easily feel shamed and guilt, which are what I call systems feelings, when we feel those feelings, and if we are easily have access to those, unfortunately, or they occur quite readily, then it's not good to just take quick fixes, go and challenge someone, just go talk it out. Here, just go tell them the Bible verse they need to know so they know they're wrong and you're right. Don't challenge them because they made fun of your career or your. We have to be wiser than that. And one of the things, since I come from a religious background, be as wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And self-differentiation is the way to become wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. It really did blend into what I believed about what I wanted to become. Number 4, your feelings are not always valid. I always learn so many times from so many books, all your feelings are valid. They're all equal. They're all equally important. If you believe that, you are going to make lots of mistakes. Because and follow your heart and follow your feelings. Do you know how often your feelings mislead you? You think you grew up in a dysfunctional family and all of your feelings are valid, appropriate, real, and true? No. Your feelings are not, many of them are not. And in fact, I had to come to learn to understand the difference between systems feelings and my real feelings. I didn't know that all feelings shouldn't be honored. All are valid, but not because they are true. In other words, if you have systems guilt and feel guilt, and that's feeling guilt over nothing, you haven't done anything wrong, there's no reason for the guilt, but you feel guilty because they want you to feel guilty. It's still a valid feeling, but it's not a true feeling. You don't have true guilt. In other words, you haven't done anything wrong. It's there to control your behavior, your thinking, your feeling, your actions. It's there to control all those things. And that's how partly the family system programs us. So learning the difference that not all feelings are valid and true. I didn't know that. I just thought they all were. So every feeling, no matter how systems oriented it was versus my true feelings, I just took it all as it's all valid and it's all good. You know, if I'm feeling shame, then I'm feeling shame. No, you are feeling shame. I mean, I'm not denying that. But what is the source of the shame? Is it because you feel shame, or is it because you're supposed to feel shame? And one is an individual model, one is a systems model. And I'll talk more about that in other videos. Number 5, your boundaries are only as good as your inner boundaries. So external or physical boundaries, whatever kind of limitations you have with other people in your life, are only as good as your inner boundaries. And I remember reading a study, it talked about assertiveness training. And I remember back 300 years ago when we were all talking about assertiveness training, and that was the big thing. Assertiveness training is great. There's nothing wrong with assertiveness training. The problem is what they found in the research is someone will take assertiveness training, do very well, and then it will just trail off. And why does it do that? Because the inner self-esteem, the inner boundaries or detachment was not present. And so you can learn to do certain things, but it's going to be hard to maintain it if you don't work with what's going on in here first. And so, again, I attempted many times to set boundaries, but I was so filled with low self-worth, need for acceptance, intense guilt, anxious reactivity, and all those things have to do with inner boundaries. And if I have all those things going on, my boundaries are probably not going to go very well. I'm going to have a hard time thinking them up. I'm going to have a hard time sharing them. And I'm going to have a hard time insisting on those boundaries. Number 6, become okay with disappointing others. That's one of the things I wish I'd have known 60 years ago, that it's okay to disappoint others. That's called life. Have you, and as a good codependent, as I was, that, you're not supposed to disappoint other people. And it was too painful for me to disappoint someone else because it caused me too much upsetness. So then I would keep being the doormat or the overfunctioner. And again, the difficulty was it was so important for me to learn to disappoint. And really, to not disappoint others is to rescue them from their feelings. And so I needed to learn not to rescue other people from their feelings or their experience. And I remember going through chaplaincy training that was very, very tough training. It was very significant and a grind to go through. And the supervisor I had he was actually phenomenal, but he actually drove us absolutely nuts because we were just so novice at what we were doing, and he was quite experienced. And he would use that to help us learn and grow very quickly, but it was painful. And learning not to rescue the people that we were working with, patients who were dying, family members who are experiencing deep grief. It's not helpful to rescue. It's helpful to be alongside and be a support. But boy, that's tough to learn that when someone's really having a hard time. Or, as I've had for clients for 45 years, a client says, well, how do I do that, Jerry? I don't know how to do that. I'm just lost. Do I rush in and rescue and fix? No. I go, well, where did you learn that you don't know what to do? And where did you learn that you were lost? Let's go back there. Rather than me going, well, let me tell you exactly what you should do and do this and do this and do that. Let me rescue you. And then, of course, if it doesn't work, they're going to blame me. And that's just not a good dynamic between the coach or therapist and the client. It's not a good dynamic to have that. It doesn't mean I don't care. I know how it can feel to feel lost. I get that. But lost doesn't mean you cannot find yourself, if I can say it that way. You can be lost. You also can find yourself. Because you are with yourself, you are yourself. But more on that later. Number 7, don't use normal rules for abnormal relationships. That was something I began to learn over these many years and how important that is. But that's also looking at it in the sense of more of a systems way of looking at it. And what I mean by that is, if you believe love your neighbor, okay, I think it's a wonderful thing. It's fabulous. It's a good injunction. It's a good law. It's a good, that's fine. However, how do you live that out with a malignant narcissist? How do you live it out? That can become really tricky. And if you use the standard rules or normal rules for families, for relationships, even the Bible in its normal use, you can become pretty abused and not for a good purpose. And so what we have to recognize is that, wait a minute, this is an abnormal relationship, and they may be abnormal or unwell or narcissistic or sociopathic or whatever. And I need to be careful about the rules I use and how I operate with them. If you had a good friend of yours who came up and said, "Hey, could you loan me $200? I just had a car problem. I had to pay that, and I just need some gas money for a week or two. Could you help me with that?" Well, you might be willing to go, "Well, sure. Let me see if I can help you with that." Now, that's kind of what normal people do, right? In a normal relationship. But in an abnormal relationship, someone may want to take advantage of you and may be looking to abuse you in some way. So in those situations, I may not loan the $200 or give them the $200 for their cash. So I'm using abnormal rules. I'm not going to help you because of the toxicity that's there, versus, "Oh, of course I'll help you because we have a normal kind of relationship that's more mutual." So I learned that I have to watch how I apply all of these rules and social norms that I've believed all my life and how they apply. And we have to be very careful about that. Yeah, in terms of normal rules, I always felt I had to accept and play by the rules others set. You set them, and then I need to play by them. However, they would act abnormally and in a toxic or abusive way and expect me to use conventional, healthy, and caring rules towards them. That's very unwise. It is very unwise to do that. And in fact, you will be enabling the toxicity. In other words, having a dynamic where they express, "I won't respect you, but you should always respect me. I feel no empathy to help you, but you must always be kind and generous to me." That's kind of the using normal rules for abnormal relationships. Number 8, you are not responsible for others, even if they say you are. I always felt over responsible for everyone. I just had a big, over-caring heart, I thought. But my caring at its core was not actually about them. It was actually about me. My guilt, my anxiety, my fears, my need for approval, my low self-esteem, because then I could use me caring for them to lift my self-esteem. And I'm not saying helping others doesn't improve depression and can help with self-esteem, but that's not the dynamic I'm talking about right now. It's that I would use that in a way that I felt over responsible for others. Their feelings, however they felt, whatever they thought, it must be my responsibility. And came to learn that it really isn't. I have enough to deal with my own feelings, thoughts, beliefs, wishes, wants, preferences. I've got enough to deal with that without managing yours. And I would manage others all the time, and it just became overwhelming. Number 9, if you don't self-differentiate from your family, you are likely to remain stuck or in problematic systems or relationships. My stuckness for years was about not focusing more on me and about not going deep enough to address underlying relationship dynamics, meaning self-differentiation. I needed to go deeper to understand what was working rather than just a superficial understanding of what was going on. If you resonated with this video, I highly recommend joining my free training, Build the Real Self You Were Never Allowed to Have. See the link below, where I give you practical advice and tools to apply all of this to your own life and unique situation. Learning about and doing the work of self-differentiation will unlock many of your recovery efforts. Self-differentiation is the most effective way to become your true self, your strong self. Self-differentiation from your family of origin is the most powerful way to mature and heal, grow, and recover, because you can apply this way of thinking and feeling to all areas of your life. I hope that you will subscribe, like, comment. I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day and be wise. Hi everyone, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm the director for the Center for Self-Differentiation. I work with clients in my office. I work with them online, on Skype, basically anywhere that in the English-speaking world. I've got a lot of clients who come to me and ask me, how can I get my family out of me? So this video is entitled Family Hunger, How Can I Get My Family Out of Me? I had a client who was struggling with a very toxic family who had basically used her, cut her off, would treat her disrespectfully, and even tell lies to other siblings about her. No one was willing to confront the troublemaking sister, and no one wanted to cause more problems. My client has felt hurt, confused, abandoned, mistreated by her family, used, and basically used and thrown away by her family. Her sister would fly in from Florida and visit her two brothers in the same town where she lives, but not even tell my client that she had even been there. The sister has children that are close in age to her age and doesn't make any efforts to connect them with their cousins. And this felt really painful for my client, and it has for years. Also, my client did feel very bad because she felt her kids were not getting the benefits from the extended family that she was hoping would happen. And due to this dysfunctional pattern, her kids are kind of alienated from their cousins. The mother had died, and the triangles and cutoffs continued in the family. Mom would be the one to bring the family together. Now everybody's kind of disjointed. This client called me and wanted to know, how can I get them out of me? I realize I can't expect much from them, but I'm still suffering the emotional struggles and problems and hurts and obsession about it and those kinds of things. And she talked about feeling disappointed and even left out and even feeling lonely at times because she feels kind of family abandoned. Many people have lots of leftover what I call family hunger from either family abandonment or the hunger they feel inside to have a normal family, to have those parents that you always wanted, to have the siblings that interact with you in a healthy way, to have your children interact with their children and cousins interact with cousins, etc. And this family hunger, let me describe what family hunger is. This yearning to have what other people seem to have with their family of origin. The longing for understanding parents and supportive siblings, hoping for enjoyable family holiday times with extended family members, wanting to never feel left out, and always being included in family and sibling events, feeling orphaned, feeling abandoned by your family of origin, feeling the pain, shame, and guilt of having parents who don't show very much in the way of caring, empathy, or understanding. And as holidays approach, we wait by the phone to see if we'll get a ring to invite you to family gatherings, rather than just hearing it through the grapevine that they're having a family event somewhere, and I guess I'm supposed to show up. Feeling hurt or disappointed that no one from your family sent you a happy birthday card on your birthday. Even though birthdays may not be so big for you, you feel like, couldn't they even just remember one day, and it's my birthday, everybody knows when my birthday is? Not hearing a word. Something big happens to someone in the family and you're the last to know. Or you come to know it accidentally or through the grapevine. Family hunger involves never feeling accepted by your family of origin, no matter how hard you try. Believing that someday they will change enough to meet your internal needs. Or that you will change enough that they will want to meet your needs or want to be connected to you. You have wanted to cut off emotionally from your family of origin. This also can be family hunger as well, because either we feel enmeshed or we want to cut off. Both are the result of overcloseness. So we want to get enmeshed. Why don't they call me? Why aren't we connecting? Why aren't we talking? To, I'm just going to cut off from them. I don't even care. When really we do care. We're just whistling past the cemetery. In other words, we're going to cut off from them to show them how big we are and that we don't need them anymore. But actually the pain continues inside. And this family hunger can be exhibited in wanting to cut off emotionally from your family of origin because it's just too painful to experience their dysfunction or toxicity. Because it was too difficult to maintain being yourself while staying connected to this rather dysfunctional family. So what can we do to get our family of origin out of us? I've got some tips I want to share with you, and this is what I use and what I talk to clients about and how to help them get their family out of them. One of the biggest problems I deal with is this. Clients have way too high expectations for their siblings and their parents. They assume their family of origin should act normally, though when you get the history from them, actually their family has never acted normally. They should act with empathy and insight and maturity, and the family never has had any of these three since my client was a child. But yet we still expect that and want that to happen. We yearn for that to happen. Our families are made up of people, of human beings who are flawed, who have problems, who have their own issues, and they will get expressed in family dynamics. So lowering our expectation of our family can help tremendously. We expect so much from them. I know, and remember, this video is a generalist video. In other words, I'm talking to a general audience. So maybe in your own family there might be some exceptions. I always try to make that clear in the videos. Sometimes people will comment on my videos and say, oh, well, my family's not exactly that way. Well, it may not be. But in general, I think it's good to lower your expectations for your family of origin. People may ask, well, you mean I should lower my expectations and not expect them to cuss me out and to be disrespectful and to say bad things about me? Well, it's not that I think you should think that's all okay, but what I help people try to understand is that's the way your family is. That's what they do. Why do you let that bother you so much? That's their issue, not yours. Even if they're calling you names, it's still not, that doesn't make it true or real. That's their own anger, frustration, dysfunctional or systemic feelings that cause these things to come out of them. And yet we take them so personally. And it's like, why do you want to take that so personally? Though I fully understand, having experienced that in my own life, for sure, I fully understand how that feels very much like us. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. Do your family of origin grief work. Give up your dream of having the family you always wanted, the family you always wanted to have, or as some have called it, the Norman Rockwell family, if you're a little older, maybe my age, or the Leave It to Beaver family, or the Huxtables, or whomever it might be. Do the grief work that it never was, and it never will be that way. And we may need to cry and get over that and let that go. It's okay to let this go. You will find more happiness and actually experience life in a more happy way if we can let go of this fantasy. Rather than, if I let go of this fantasy, it will never happen and I will be totally miserable the rest of my life. And I'll feel lonely the rest of my life. No, you're going to feel lonely because you haven't let it go. That's why we feel so lonely. Number 3, stop believing this, that all my needs are real. Most of our dependency needs from childhood are not real. They were real when we were children, but in terms of now, they're a part of our inner child architecture. And we expect or want our family of origin to meet those now. Those needs are not realistic and are not real now. For example, me as an adult, I need a mother who accepts and understands me. I need a mother who will not criticize me all the time. These are not real needs. They're wants, but they're not needs. You can live and thrive and be healthy without any of these. So that's why I say they're not real needs. Again, there may be something you want. It's okay to want something. I mean, I'd like to have a Rolls-Royce convertible. That's a want, but it's not a need. And probably will not be getting that anytime soon. So remember, those are wants, not needs. But oftentimes we think of them as needs, and then our existence depends on them. Fourthly, stop believing this, that all my hurts are real. The hurts we feel are often the re-injury to our inner child, but really should not be impactful to our inner adult. Our hurt seems very real. Hurts are real to our inner child, but should be next to meaningless to our inner adult. So if a sister calls you a creepy witch to her brother, that wounds your inner child. As an adult, I don't care what she calls me. It doesn't matter. Inner witch doesn't even make sense. And if she thinks that way, that's the way she thinks. I know I'm not that way. If that's the way she thinks and wants to tell people, and some people want to believe her, what can I do? But I have no need for her not to do that. I have a want for her to not do that, but that I don't have to feel re-injured or re-hurt by that every time she does it. That's my inner child stuff that I haven't resolved. The inner adult should say, who cares? Really? That sounds pretty crazy. You know, a wicked witch or a stupid, arrogant brother or whatever you want to call. Okay, if that's what you think, that's what you think, though it's not real. And it's not going to affect me as an adult. My inner child, those inner hurts become less and less as I deal with my inner child issues. Stop thinking this. I think all my anger is real. I feel so angry at my parents or my family, I just want to hurt them as badly as I have been hurt. This anger is inner child anger, which requires healing and letting go, and accepting that me, the adult, I don't need to carry around that anger anymore from behaviors that my family have done in the past or even doing now. Anger hurts me. It doesn't hurt them. It hurts me. So I want to be careful how real I put a stake in this anger, that this is totally legitimate and totally reasonable. And often we do get confused between our inner child, or what I call like systemic feelings, feeling systemically hurt. That's where you're a 47-year-old adult, your mother tells your sister that she thinks you're selfish and you feel hurt by that. That's not real hurt, that's systemic hurt. That's hurt from the dysfunctional family systemics in which the inner child has not been healed and it feels re-injured. But as an adult, it really shouldn't matter. You can tell my sister whatever you want to tell her. You can tell her I'm crazy as a loon. I would rather you not, but it's not necessary that you don't. Number 6, when we fight over feeling heard, which is often a complaint I hear quite often from people, where they will say they don't feel heard, they don't feel understood, they don't feel accepted, they don't feel respected, they feel undervalued. Often when we fight over these issues, we are fighting over something which is really an unnecessary item we don't need or require. My family of origin does not need to understand me for me to be happy. My family of origin does not need to accept me for me to be happy. My family of origin does not need to respect me. They don't need to value me. Those are all wants. Those are certainly wants, but they're not needs. I don't need to have that done. We feel needy and fight and have conflict over something like being accepted, because without it, we will have to be miserable or less of a person or maintain our low self-esteem. That's what we often fear and feel. And I heard a quote recently, it was like, but actually it's like two bald men fighting over a comb. I teach people to stop needing and stop yearning and stop fighting over a comb they don't need. I tell the two bald people, why are you fighting over this comb? Neither of you have hair. But we don't see it that way. We see it as, you don't understand, I've got this whole head of hair and I need that comb. So we fight over acceptance and feeling valued and those kinds of things. When actually, let the comb go. You don't need it. 7, letting go does not mean cutting off and emotionally cutting off. It means I am neutral. I have a strong sense of self and I can be who I am. I am not triggered or reactive to your invitations to argue or to put me down or to disrespect me or get in a fight with you or a verbal argument or whatever. I have no need for that. So again, letting go doesn't mean cutting off. It means becoming neutral. And I try to help people become neutral, where they feel more stabilized inside. 8, getting my family out of me means moving from parents with a capital P to seeing them or seeing your family as fellow human beings. Or I've even gone so far as poorly evolved primates. We're all poorly evolved primates. So is your family. So are you. Capital M for mom, capital D for dad, turning them into Mary and Bob rather than mom and dad and have them so powerful. Resist biology. Well, but they're my parents, Jerry. They are my blood parents. I realize that. They will never not be your blood parents, no matter what. They will never not be that. But biology doesn't mean you have to stay enmeshed. And they say, but they're my parents. And I say, and your point is? They're still adults with, as the Bible says, feet of clay. I mean, we're all human. And we're just all of us. And as adults, they're imperfect. As parents, they were imperfect. This is the dealt we got. This is the hand we got dealt. So you can deal with you. You don't have to make them all right and make them right and fix them and those kinds of things. Number 9, I ask clients to look at the downside of getting my family out of me. Or if I let go of my family, what do I lose? And resolve those fears, issues, and concerns. That's very important. Looking at the downside of a positive behavior or event. That way I can more easily let go of something. Number 10,
Knowing over-involvement and over-enmeshment with our family of origin is measured by how much we are under-involved in our own lives and our own sense of self. Those that are highly enmeshed and highly worried about what their family of origin is thinking, doing, believing, feeling about them, I then look at their lives and go, well, how much do you do in terms of self-care, self-awareness, self-love, self-determination, self-direction, self-motivation? Often it's very low because they've gotten fixed on their family and haven't moved on, or we haven't grown up. And the less someone is dependent on their family for emotional needs, the more they take care of their own emotional needs for themselves. And this is the increasing the level of self-differentiation. And that's what self-differentiation is about, is becoming you while staying connected. Number 11, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, or fear of being a family orphan, keeps our family of origin stuck inside us. Dealing with those fears, resolving those fears, allows us to let go of that family that's stuck inside of us. And then 12th is the last. If someone just cannot get over the obsession, and is so enmeshed, so obsessive compulsive about their family, I even recommend that they use a 12-step program to deal with their enmeshment and or addiction to their family of origin. Because addiction programs and 12-step programs can help with that obsession, the compulsion, the need to walk on eggshells, the worry, the fear of losing them, the fear of staying in contact with them. Often clients will put in more and more worry time about their family of origin than in their own recovery and self-care. So we may need to work a first step, and you can take a look at the 12 steps and take a look at it, to begin to deal with that obsession about our family of origin. If you want more help with letting go of your family of origin, or getting your family of origin out of you, contact me for expert help in this field. Many people find a great sense of emotional control and less reactivity having sessions with me. They feel less reactive, more self-loving and accepting, a greater peace, happier relationships, and more in control of their lives. They can sleep better, they have less depression, they even learn how to do conflict better in a way that does not frighten them or leave them feeling alone or afraid. There are many rewards to addressing these issues and getting the family out of us and becoming more self-differentiated. Contact me for an appointment. My contact information is on the screen, my email and my phone number. Please join our YouTube channel. If you want more resources or a complete listing of all of my over 100 free videos on YouTube, contact me via email and I'll send them to you free. I want to tell you today, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.
As adults, when parents treat us like children, there are three things we need to do. Grow up versus changing them. Second of all, train them how to treat you respectfully. Thirdly, shift the discomfort from you to them without reactivity. Number one, growing up without changing them. Often people want to change their parents to get them to stop treating them like a child. Many parents don't want to give up that role, they don't like that role, or they've done it for so many years they don't even know what it's like to not do that role of parent. We don't need parents anymore when we're adults. We can have family, we can have mothers and fathers, but parenting we should grow out of needing. Be the adult. Learn new responses as an adult to your parent who is continuing to kind of treat you in a childlike way. Focus on changing you versus, saying, well, I hate it, Mom and Dad, when you treat me like I'm a child. I'm 35 years old. That doesn't train them anything. It sends them a message, but it says it upsets you. It keeps the same old patterns going, because when we have that reactivity, we're now acting like a child again. When I go, I hate it when you treat me like a child. That's how a child sounds. And so we're just telling them we are still children. Let's not do that anymore, because that will only continue the pattern. When parents often say, well, we do this because I just care about you. Well, we can respond, well, I know you do, and I think you do care about me, but I think I've got this. And we send that message. That's not reactivity, and I'm acting like an adult. We also can inform them and alert them that I'm going to be acting more like in an adult way. Mom and Dad, you may begin to see me taking more responsibility for things like my relationships, my finances, my life choices. And gosh, guys, I'm sure it's tough giving up being a parent. And if you're an adult, say 35 or 40 or whatever, and you've been a parent, it is hard to give up the role of parent. That's not an easy thing. That's our job to grow up as parents. Our children's job is to grow up to be adults. Our job is to grow up to let go of that parental role with them. Mom may ask, well, I want you to come and bring that dish we all like on Sunday when you get here. Well, Mom, I haven't decided if I'm coming yet. And with my busy schedule, it may be tough to bring that dish. Now, again, she may resist, but keep that broken record. Keep that same statement going. A parent may also say, you like your hair that way? I think I'd consider a change, Jerry or Susie or whoever it is. Actually, I'm fine with it, Dad. You have worried about how I look for so many years. I know it may bother you, but it doesn't really bother me. And if we can learn to say that in a calm adult way, that's going to help mature the relationship rather than being reactive, which is only reinforcing that I'm a child and you're getting to me. And that's exactly the point of parentifying or being a parent or overparenting, is that I still have control, or you still matter to me, or I still matter to you, and we should care, and so I need to be over involved in your life. It doesn't bother me that my hair is this way, but it may bother you. I'm sorry to hear that. Choose adult responses over reactivity. Reactivity, as I've mentioned, keeps the same pattern going. Now, some will say, well, I just ignore them. Well, sometimes it's okay to ignore. Sometimes we just do. We ignore things and we just let it pass. But if we ignore it because we're uncomfortable or feel childlike inside, then that's the other side of reactivity. Reactivity that's very aggressive, the Viking, or reactivity that's the victim. Well, I'll just ignore it. There's no sense confronting them about that. And so I'll just act like it never was said. And so we want to watch and be careful about ignoring and being a Viking and being aggressive, because ignoring can be childlike too. Now, we can ignore as an adult, but make sure you're ignoring as an adult, not ignoring as a child. That, yeah, I know Mom says that. And my mom she used to do things, for example, my mom lived longer than my father, so that's why I often talk about Mom. And she may say things, and I would grant her and give her the gift of ignoring it. But give the gift of ignoring. Don't ignore because you don't know what to do with it, and you're just tired of it and frustrated, and then you just ignore. Intentional harms me less than reactive or neurotic, or that's going to harm me. And basic bottom line, act your age. Begin to act your age with your parents. Secondly, train others or train your parents how to treat you and how to treat you respectfully. Instruct them about what you wish to discuss with them and what you don't. For example, here might be some no's if they tend to be enmeshed and they're just all in your life and feel like they can ask you about anything and anywhere. Well, how often have you, made love with your boyfriend? I mean, sometimes parents will even get that personal and that enmeshed. Here would be some no's then that I might want to put up. Mom and Dad, my relationship with my siblings would be a no, unless I bring it up. Because I have my relationship with them, and I have my relationship with you. My relationship with the other parent. Mom, I don't want to talk to you about dad. Dad, I don't want to talk to you about mom. I want to keep that boundary. Finances, appearance, relationships, life choices, decor, shopping purchases, all of these things that parents will get in and continue to parent. Dad will be concerned about what car I'm going to buy and how much it's going to cost. And mom may be concerned with you about the dress you choose or the makeup you wear or all those kinds of things. Well, those are non-discussables. Those are not going to be topics we're going to be talking about unless I bring it up or ask for your advice. In living with my mom for quite a while at the end of her life to try to save the family home and keep her in the home, I would go and buy groceries. Well, I would buy them and I would pay for those groceries. And when I cared for her, and every time I got home, she would come from out the other side of the house and come over and observe the unpacking of the groceries so that she could comment on all the groceries that I bought. And I would have to just about justify every purchase. Well, that was frustrating and felt intrusive and enmeshing. And I didn't like that. And she's still parenting because she would say things like, well, we already have bread, Jerry. Why did you get this? You got another jar of peanut butter? There's a jar of peanut butter in the pantry, Jerry. Finally, I had to ask, Mom, I'd like you to stay in your den until I get all the groceries put away. Then you can come out and check and see what I bought or whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to talk about the grocery shopping. I've paid for them. They're my choices. If we have too many jars of peanut butter, that's on me, and I'll be happy to pay that expense. Also, we may want to, at times with friends, family, parents, particularly people who are kind of intrusive, and parenting tends to be intrusive for adults, we want to give them even a script to help them see what they're saying to us and understand that better. My mom would say, Jerry, you have to get your taxes done. Federal taxes and things like that, which I hate doing, and it's such a hassle. And I would put it off. There are some things I'm a procrastinator about. Many things I stay on, some things I can procrastinate. And I remember saying to Mom, I think what you meant to say, Mom, was your taxes, Jerry, are yours to worry about. But I feel anxious about it for you. But they are yours to worry about. And I would say something like that to her. And that would be non-reactive. I'd say it calmly. Now, what if we have narcissistic parents and some of these softer setting of boundaries just don't work very well? Then we have to get more intense. And I mean intense in a positive adult way, not intense in a reactive way. With narcissistic parents, we may need to set really firm boundaries and say things like, Dad, that is my decision. Mom, that's not something that I have asked for your opinion. I will make that decision. And we may say, if they discuss our weight or our appearance, well, Mom, my weight is between me and my doctor. I'm not going to talk any more about my weight with you. And so we have to set firm boundaries at times that's not going to be discussable. That's not something we're going to discuss. Not because I couldn't discuss it with other people, but I don't want to discuss it with somebody in whom it matters too much. They're enmeshed, they're parenting, they're intrusive. Then I don't want to talk to them. Now, maybe my friend Andy, I'll talk to about my weight with him. It's no problem. But he doesn't have a whole life investment in it, like my mother or father or sister or brother. And so lastly, we may have to turn up the heat. If they are not teachable or get the hint or respect your boundaries, then we must shift the polarity or shift the discomfort from us to them without being reactive. That's the crucial thing. I want to shift the discomfort from us to them without being reactive. And I think we want to shift that polarity because with the narcissistic parent, the polarity is shifted back this way. They do things which upset us. I want to shift that and go, I want to be me, which may upset you, but that's your choice. I don't want it shifted the other way. So I want to turn that shift of polarity, of emotional functioning, the emotional current between us. An example, if you criticize my husband one more time, I will have to choose to see you or talk to you less. Or the common statement I have used, does it still bother you that I married Karen? Yes. Well, it doesn't bother me. And it's not going to bother me until it bothers me. And it will be my bothering, not yours. Oh, Jerry, I wish you would have never taken that job. Since it is my job to deal with, I don't understand your distress. It's my job to deal with. And I'm not distressed like you are. So I don't understand why you are so distressed. And you may have to deal with that distress. And hey, there are counselors out there for you to talk to deal with that distress. Or if it bothers you that I married Karen, there are coaches and counselors out there who would be happy to help you with that bothering. But I'm not the one. A classic one I remember from years ago, when are you going to potty train Andrew, my son? And I don't know why you guys just let him go without being potty trained. Well, I don't think it's good to potty train somebody at, 9 months old. I'm being facetious. It wasn't 9 months, but I mean, far earlier than I felt was comfortable. When are you going to potty train Andrew? When my parent sense says I'm ready. If you don't want to watch him because you have to change his diapers, there's a solution for that, Mom. Do you want that solution? You just won't be watching him then. I shift the discomfort from me to them non-reactively. Now she'll have to deal with her decisions. She can still continue to think I'm not potty training him soon enough. But if she keeps this up, she's not going to be able to see Andrew because she's not behaving well. And she's not respecting my parenting of my own child. Notice the discomfort shifts to them without being reactive, which often, many times they may ignore, so we may have to do it a number of times for them to get the point. And of course, if they never get the point, then we have to separate and get some more distance between us. Low contact to no contact, we can, there can be sort of contact in a low contact way. But again, the discomfort then falls on them, not on me. If I feel discomfort by going no contact because I have to, then I need to talk to someone about that discomfort, not to the narcissistic parent or who we're needing to go no contact with. Reactivity means you got me. And so whenever we're reactive, whatever they were doing got us. And then we get into that childlike state. Being adult means we deal with it in an adult way. And I use the word, what would Betty do? What would Betty say to Mom in this situation, who's the neighbor, who I considered an adult and neutral? What would she do in this situation? I want to be an adult in an adult way. Hey, I hope you'll subscribe, comment. We comment back on your comments that you make. I also do shorts or short videos responding to comments of people who ask questions high up in the comment, and I can respond to some of those, and I think you've been seeing some of those on the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, join our website as well, and thank you for watching. Have a great day, and be wise.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jerry Wise. I work with a lot of adult children of narcissists or adult children of dysfunctional families. And I want to share with you 7 things you can't count on narcissistic parents to do. There are several reasons why I want to share these. So many times, adult children of narcissists will blame themselves for how difficult the relationship is between them and their narcissistic parent. They also will wonder why they don't have more compassion for their parent, or will wonder so much why their parent doesn't have compassion for them, and they get stuck in those wonderings. And I think a part of healing and recovery is to detach from those wonderings
And that's part of what I try to provide in my online program that I've listed below. And that program does include a 12-month program in which I work with you in a group setting each month. So you might check that out. So what's the first thing that we can't count on narcissistic parents to do? To have doubts and regrets. Narcissistic parents don't have doubts and don't have regrets. They're right, and they've never done anything wrong. So what have they to doubt about, and what have they to even worry about doubting, and what have they have to regret? They don't have the kind of regrets that you and I might have, or even the doubts that you and I might have. I think doubts is a part of a healthy mind and a healthy heart. I didn't say doubting everything, and I don't doubt that the sun will probably come up tomorrow. But if you have no doubts and no regrets, I'm not sure that's a healthy mindset or psychological set. Even if I believe in faith, even if I believe in a religious belief, I still think there's a place for us to struggle with those things. The narcissistic parent doesn't struggle with those. Number 2, to do good when nobody's watching. A healthy person, a recovering person, can do good with no one watching. A narcissist cannot do that. Now, they may do it in a private way, but they're hoping someone will see it eventually and attribute that to them. So they don't just do good when they cannot be credited for it in some direct or indirect way. You and I might do that. We might do something good. Like we might stop by and help someone who's got a flat tire. I might see someone who's struggling, or maybe a woman with 2 kids and it's cold out or rainy. Hey, can I give you a ride? You can sit in the back. You can, here's my driver's license. If I can help you, this is inclement weather, let me help you with that. But I don't need to tell everybody about that. I don't need to put it on Facebook. I don't need to. Now, I may be telling you about it right now, but that's way after the fact. And I'm not looking for praise or appreciation. I can do good when no one's watching. And I believe a narcissist cannot. They have to be a center of attention. They have to have an audience. They don't just do good because. They do good because something. And so we find that's one of the things you can't count on them to do. Number 3, we can't count on the narcissistic parent to react in a situational, appropriate way. If something is serious or difficult, they may react in a nonplussed way. In serious situations, when nothing's really happening and it's no big deal, they may react to a 10 on a 10 scale and become overly reactive. We can't count on them to be situationally appropriate or emotionally, mentally, or behave well or appropriate to the situation. Can't count on them for that. All you can count on is that they won't. And even if they do, I often get very suspect at that point. If they do react in a situational appropriate way, because I'm going, what game might they be playing? Because many times they are playing a game. And they will be charming at times and seemingly very situationally appropriate. But they're trying to do something. It's Machiavellian in some way. Number 4, to leave room for your feelings, thoughts, or ideas, or beliefs. The narcissist is not really interested in your feelings, your thoughts, or your ideas, or your beliefs. That's not something that they are able to do or able to do well. They might patronize you a little bit. That can happen. I've seen narcissists be patronizing. But usually it's not for the connect's sake. It's not just because they're warm or they're caring, because the narcissist is bigger than life and they take up the whole room. And there's not much room for the rest of us mortals. Number 5, you cannot count on a narcissistic parent to comfort you when you are mistreated by others. Often, what do you hear when you might complain about being mistreated by others? The narcissistic parent will say, they had it a lot worse than that. Even spouses that I've worked with recently, one husband said, hey, you know, my brother bullied me and was even physically abusive to me. And the wife goes, yeah, but, you know, I had it a lot worse than that. You know, my father tried to kill me, and my mother didn't want me, and she made that very clear to me. While I understand that may be more severe than what the husband had gone through, but a narcissist will use their own lens to see your trauma and your problems. A caring, mature adult person will see your problems apart from themselves and be able to be of comfort or nurturing. You go, oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. You know, I'm sure that was very difficult growing up with your brother, bullying you or physically abusive. Because I'm separate from you. The narcissist is enmeshed. And so they only see your pain, your difficulties through their difficulties, pain, what they've been through. They can't see you as a separate person. And so that's why they go, well, I had it worse than that. I'm going, well, I didn't say you didn't have it worse than that. I was only talking about Jerry. I wasn't talking about your experience and your pain. But that gets all enmeshed for a narcissistic parent. So we can't count on them to comfort us when we have been mistreated. Number 6, you cannot count on narcissistic parents to avoid constant manipulation, humiliation, and devaluation. You can't count on them to avoid those things. Just when you think it might be a situation where they're not going to be like that, maybe it's in public, maybe it's at an event, and boom, they'll come out with some humiliating or devaluating comments or looks or whisperings, or they will just come out with that kind of devaluation. And also it can be rather subtle. And I remember I just had a situation. The family member said to someone, oh, this is your new apartment. Oh, you actually have it put together. They could have said, it looks so nice, you've got it put together. But they used the word actually, which means I'm shaming you about the past. Because in the past, you may not have been actually had it together, and I've thought you haven't. And so I'm going to share this humiliating statement with you. And there are many ways those subtle kinds of shaming statements can happen. And we generally know those as being double-edged. And oftentimes I'll say, well, I'm not sure which part of that to respond to, sis. The compliment or the criticism or the shaming. I'm not sure which one to respond to. Because on the one hand, you're saying this looks great. On the other hand, you're saying, finally, it looks great. You actually have this done. Finally. And it's like, wait a minute. You're not my parent. You don't direct what I have to have together or not together. But a narcissist or a narcissist family member, you can't count on them to avoid those things. They must do them. Manipulation, humiliation, devaluation. Number 7, you can't count on the narcissistic parent to celebrate your successes and your high points, the high points of your life or high points or your joy with you, unless they can eclipse the spotlight in some way. In other words, oh, I'm so glad I had a son who could do this. I'm so glad I had a daughter who was able to achieve this. And it's almost like they achieved this. The daughter graduates from law school or graduates from medical school or gets some award or some sports award. And I'm so glad that I had a daughter and all of my support helped her be here. They cannot celebrate your successes without being enmeshed with them and making them their own or absconding with them emotionally. They abscond. They take it from you and put the medal on themselves. And so you can't count on them to just celebrate and let you enjoy your moments. Either your downsides or your good sides, they can't let you just have them. They have to interact with them through their lens and their pathology. They have to interact in that way. Hey, I've got an online program that will help you to heal in these ways that I've been talking about and to recover from being an adult child of a dysfunctional family. And I talk about many things that will help you do that. Certainly, again, I've added on there a monthly group session for everyone who joins the program that's listed below. I hope you will join. And I want to thank you very much for listening and watching today. I hope you have a great day and be wise.